Focus. Yay! Hey, this is Thursday, November 17th. The screen looks a little different up there because I had to skip the first part of it because we went over the quizzes from yesterday, so you'll just have to roll with me. Let's see, what can I remember that was up there. The canned food drive ends tomorrow, so make sure you bring those in. We the People, the reason I was gone yesterday, they did really well at that one. If you chose to do the crossword, then that comes due Tuesday of next week, along with the blue sheet, along with the homework. It's a big day next week on Tuesday. You have a bunch of stuff that comes due. Make sure you get the homework done first, and then get the blue sheet done, and then you can do the crossword. And then this is our last story we're going to have you download. I have other stories on my website. We're just not going to get a chance to get to them. So Theseus is the last one we're going to officially get to. With this one, I wanted to do a quick talk about the end of Heracles. Who was Heracles' father?
Zeus.
Who was his mother?
Hera.
No. Random human girl works for me. Her name was Alchemeda. You don't have to know that part. The random human girl. It is definitely not Hera. And who tries to kill young Heracles? Hera. What's the first time she tries to kill him? Snakes comes into his bed. Does she succeed?
No.
But then she doesn't have to because he has his own issues. The first time Heracles makes a poor choice, what does he do?
Kill his own family.
No.
He does
Something much worse than that.
like,
Yes?
He hit his music teacher.
Nicely done. Killing his English teacher. We're going to kill your English teacher. Killing his music teacher was the first thing he did. Then he does a second bad thing. What's the second bad thing?
Kills his family.
Kills his family. And he asks for forgiveness, and Zeus says, sure, we can do it, but there's going to require a lot of work. How many?
Eureka.
12. How many years does he have to get it done? 12. Did I get to why they picked the number 12?
No.
12 Olympians. And they figured 12 Olympians, and so you're going to have to do 12 tasks. And so you have 12 years to do it. 12. They really like the number 12. And then off he begins. He got to the Nemean lion, and the Nemean lion was tough to kill. So how does he manage to kill it?
Strangle it.
He managed to strangle it. Did we get to the Hydra with the water snaky thing?
No. We just got
We had just got that when you had to read on your own. You also got, there's 12 different things that he had to go out and do. I was not going to go through all 12 of those because that would take forever. But eventually he gets through all 12 of them. And I want to get to the very end of that story, what happens to him, because it gets a little bit confusing. I was going to cover that, so you'll have to read the middle of it. If you're at the end of it, then this is the part you'll know. I'm just going to try and help you out. So he eventually gets all 12 labors done and gets forgiven and goes on with his life. One of the first things he does after he finishes the 12 labors is goes back to kill King Eurystheus. He's like, you tortured me for 12 years, I'm going to kill you. And he goes and kills the king, and things seem to go pretty well. Zeus is like, well, he kind of deserved it. The guy was a big fat jerk to you anyway, even though I made him do it, but gods have issues. Zeus eventually finds a new girl to get married, a girl by the name of Deianira. And he and Deianira fall in love, they get married, and they take off on their honeymoon. On their honeymoon, they're going to meet a centaur. You guys know what a centaur is?
It's like a minotaur looking thing. It half bull, half
three-headed dog.
Not half bull, but you're on the right track.
Centaurs have horse.
There you go. Centaur was actually the one that was half horse, half man. Minotaur is what we're going to get to today, which is half bull, half man. They had multiple half creatures. You also have a mermaid, which was half woman, half
Fish.
fish. That was scary. And then you also have a harpy, which was half woman, half bird. You have a satyr, which was half man, half goat. They just like Lego pieces. They just kept chopping things in half and sticking them together. Like, I got a new critter, and they throw it out there and they take off. Centaur was one of these creatures. Well, on his honeymoon, he and Deianira are going along, and they get to this big, long stream that they're having a tough time crossing. Heracles goes, hey, I could probably swim across, but it's raging, and it's really tough. I'm thinking you're going to have a tough time getting across. Deianira's like, I'm having trouble swimming. How am I going to do it? And Heracles is like, I can pick you up and I can just throw you across. She's like, that's not a good idea at all. And while they're trying to figure out how to get across this river to continue on their honeymoon to get to their hotel, up comes this centaur. And the centaur goes, hey, why don't I help you out? And Heracles goes, what do you mean? The centaur goes, well, your woman can jump on my back, and then I can swim across because I've got like 6 legs, because I got the 4 horsey legs and the 2 person arms, and then that way I can get across, and she can hold on to me, and then that way you don't have to worry about it. Heracles goes, oh, that's really nice of you. The centaur's like, don't mention it. And so she goes and jumps on the centaur's back, and the centaur takes off across the water. As the centaur takes her across the water to the far side, he begins to fall in love with her and thinks that she's absolutely adorable. And then go ahead, make sure your first and last name is on it, and then put it on my desk. And as he gets to the far side, they've been talking across the whole river thing, and the centaur goes, hey, put that on my desk also. Perfect. Says, hey, I'm going to steal you for my own. And the centaur takes off. Daenerys starts screaming, help, I'm being Daenerys, somebody save me. And Heracles decides to save her. But he's still on that side of the river, and the centaur's on the other side of the river taking off. So how's he going to stop the centaur? No.
Bow and arrow.
There you go. He decides to shoot the centaur to prevent the centaur from stealing his woman. And he finally, as he sees the centaur running, pulls out the bow and arrow, fling, and shoots the centaur, missing Daenerys, and the centaur, blark, drops down to the ground. While it is sitting there dying and the blood is going kasperty, kasperty, and Daenerys is running up to him, kicking him, you're a bad centaur, you're a bad centaur. He goes, I apologize. And she goes, you should. He goes, no, really I do. Listen, before your husband gets here, I have something to tell you. She goes, what? He goes, it's a little known fact that centaur blood is an aphrodisiac. She goes, it is? An aphrodisiac comes from the name Aphrodite. And an aphrodisiac was supposed to be a liquid or a potion that had power over people. And if it comes from Aphrodite, what would this potion do?
Beauty.
Not beauty, but you're close.
Love.
Make you fall in love. An aphrodisiac is a potion that makes you fall in love. He goes, it's a little known fact that centaur blood is an aphrodisiac. If you were to take centaur blood and you were to put it on someone's clothing, it makes them fall in love with you. She goes, really? He goes, yeah, I'm dying. Why would I lie to you? She goes, oh, that's so nice. He goes, quickly, take a vial, and you want the blood to get into the vial, but make sure you do not touch the blood at any time. Then, if you ever think your man might be falling out of love with you, you take my vial, the vial of my blood, you think about him as much as you can, pour the blood over his clothing, and then when he wears the clothing, it'll then make him fall back in love with you. Just make sure at no point do you ever touch the blood, because that ruins the power of the spell. She's like, oh, you're so nice. She goes, oh, thank you. I kind of feel the same way. And then she takes out a little vial of blood. Kasperty, kasperty. She puts a little cork into it. Heracles comes running up. He's like, is it dead? She's like, it is. And there the centaur dies. Years go by, and she holds on to this little vial. And she figures someday it's going to come a time when he falls out of love with me. And it happens. Years later, he's off on an adventure. He's conquering some other town or village, and she thinks of rumors that he's falling in love with this other princess, and there's rumors that he's fallen in love with her. And so Daenerys decides, this is the day I'm going to make him fall back in love with me. So she takes this brand new cloak, she pours the blood all over the cloak, rolls it back and forth, and thinks of Heracles the whole time. Fall in love with me, fall in love with me. And then she packs the cloak up and sends it off to him. Goes to the mail, eventually gets to Heracles when he's out there. He takes this cloak and he pulls it out and has a little note that says, think of me, I love you so much, your love, Daenerys, please wear this immediately. And he goes, oh, and he flaps it out. He's like, kind of smells funny, but okay. And he turns it around and puts the cloak on his body and thinks of his wife and begins screaming. Turns out, centaur blood is not an aphrodisiac. The centaur was lying the entire time, because the centaur recognized something was on the arrow that shot him that poisoned the centaur's blood. What was on the arrow? Yeah? The Hydra's blood. Because the Hydra, going back to when he kills the Hydra, has super poisonous blood, and he had dipped all of his arrows into it, so when the centaur got shot, the centaur blood was in his blood, which made the centaur blood super poisonous. He then made sure the poison got onto the thing, and then she gave the thing to Heracles, and this big long process is, Heracles gets poisoned by this blood from a Hydra. Which, a normal human, Hydra blood was so powerful, just touching it would melt you. It was like super powerful acid. If you got the Hydra blood on you, you would just scream and go, and die. Problem is, Heracles is half god, He puts it on, and he can't die. He just sits there and screams, "Ah, it's awful, make it stop, ah!" But he can't actually die. So Heracles decides to commit suicide. He figures it's the only way to make the pain stop. So to commit suicide, and because he's half god, it takes a lot of things happening at once. He goes and talks to all of his friends and says, "Listen, I'm going to need your help to make all of this pain stop." And he gives all of his friends a whole bunch of these arrows coated in hydra blood. And then he goes and jumps into the middle of this giant bonfire so that he's burning alive. And he has all of his friends shoot him with arrows covered in this blood. And all of these things going at once, the arrows, the fire, the hydra blood, is finally enough to kill him. And Heracles dies and goes up to Mount Olympus to finally see Zeus. Daenerys, his wife, finds out about all of this, feels so bad, she also commits suicide and dies. But she does not go up to see her husband up on Mount Olympus. When Heracles finally dies, Hera actually apologizes to him and says, "Hey, your life kind of sucked. A lot of it was because of me. So sorry about that." So she offers to let Heracles come up to up to Mount Olympus and hang out there with the gods, and even lets Heracles marry her daughter Hebe. And says, "Hey, I have this daughter. Maybe you'd like to marry her." Heracles goes, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so Heracles and Hebe get married and live forever, ever, and Mount Olympus. But what about his previous two wives, Megara and Daenerys? Yeah, they're in the underworld. Sucks to be them. And so they're gone, and they're down there, and he gets to live happily ever after because the gods are sexist and evil and awful. Boo! And that's where Heracles' story ends. Our last story we're going to get to is one called Theseus. And this story, once again, begins where so many of our stories have begun, and that is... No.
Zeus
Being friendly.
Oh.
Zeus, once again, decides that he is going to be friendly. And he finds this girl by the name of Europa. And he goes to Europa and he's like, "Hey, my name's Zeus. It was a human girl. He goes, "We should be friendly." She falls for it and goes, "Okay, you're adorable." But he decides once again he's going to hide it from Hera. So this time he takes the form of a bull. Not a bowl, but an actual bull. A bull. And he goes, "Jump on my back." And she jumps on the back of this bull, and he takes off. In order to hide her from Hera, he goes as far as he can. He goes all over the place, trying to distract Hera so that Hera can't follow him. And as he goes all over the place with Europa, we end up naming this area that he roams trying to hide from Hera after the girl that's on his back. And this area that he explores is?
Europe.
Europe. And that's how Europe gets his name, is from this girl Europa. Eventually, he finds an island out in the middle of the Mediterranean called Crete. And he and Europa are friendly, and Europa becomes pregnant. And then Zeus takes off, and Europa is never found out by Hera. Yeah.
Wait, she got friendly with a bull?
Well, he goes back to normal form. The bull part was just to hide her from Hera. And then he's like, "Oh, you're now hidden. Now back to being a normal person." Louise.
But doesn't she die if she looks at Zeus?
Well, he doesn't take that. I mean, he takes like his normal human form. Not like the form, but the I'm Zeus form. I mean, he doesn't want to kill her. That would take all the fun out of it. So, he and Europa are friendly. Europa, years later, gives birth to this kid by the name of Minos. They build this gigantic kingdom called Crete, which is out in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's this little island. If you've ever seen, I don't think I have it up there. I do. It's down in this area where you have Greece, and then there's like this little area, there's an island down there. That's where they end up being. And so they go to this little island called Crete, and that's where they hide. Eventually, she creates this giant kingdom down there called Crete, and she has a son by the name of Minos. Minos grows up to be king. Years have now gone by. Minos, her son, is now the king of this island. One day, her son, which would also be Zeus' son, gets a visit from Poseidon. And Poseidon walks up to his kingdom and goes, "Hey, you're King Minos, right?" And Minos goes, "Yeah, yes I am." And Poseidon goes, "I've got a problem. you've not been sacrificing to me at all, and I need you to begin sacrificing to me. And I know that you're also the son of Zeus, but you need to pay respects to me. And why does Minos need to pay respects to Crete, or pay respect to Poseidon? It's an island. And he goes, now I understand that you are a son of Zeus, but if not, I'm going to lose face in front of the other gods, and they're going to start making fun of me, and that's going to make me feel really sad. So, here's what we're going to do. How about, so that I can brag to my friends, I'm going to give you something that you then sacrifice back to me, and that way I can brag to all my friends. And Minos goes, that's it? You're going to give me something, and I just have to give it back to you, and then we get to call it a deal? Poseidon's like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, that's easy. He's like, what is it? Poseidon goes, well, to honor how your mother got to this island, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a gigantic white bull. The biggest bull you could possibly imagine, like the size of a school bus. And he claps his hands, and out of the water walks this gigantic white bull with big golden horns. It's like, murr, 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 and walks up onto the beach. He goes, in 1 month's time, when the moon is full, I want you to sacrifice this bull up to me, say my name, and say, Poseidon, you're awesome, and I'll come up and I'll take the little sacrifice bull. I get to go back to my friends and say, see, even Zeus' son sacrifices to me, and everything's going to be good. Minos goes, all right, that sounds pretty easy. I can definitely do that. And so it begins. He brings up this giant white bull, which is super friendly. It walks around and just purrs all the time. Bull, bull, and purrs. People like it. It's so big, like the kids hang little ropes from its horns. They swing back and forth on it, and it goes around, like lays down, and kids like pet it and stuff like that. It's the most friendly bull you can possibly imagine. Problem is, it's so friendly that King Minos' wife, a girl by the name of Pasiphae, falls in love with the bull and thinks this bull is awesome. And as the days go by, she goes, oh, I love that bull. It's like a giant pet. I go out there and pet it on its nose, and it goes, bull, bull. She's like, how can you kill that? He's like, listen, hon, it's not up to us. We're going to have to kill the bull because Poseidon gave it to us, and if we don't kill it, he's going to get really grumpy. So we're just going to have to kill it. Well, she keeps working on it over the next several weeks. She's like, please don't kill the bull. If you love me, you won't kill the bull. And finally, she wears him down. A few days before he's supposed to sacrifice the bull, he decides, all right, here's what we're going to do. Let's go with this. We're going to have this inventor on our kingdom. He's going to come up with this big fake bull that we're going to sacrifice instead. And this inventor goes, all right, here's what we'll do. We'll take a normal bull, and we're going to paint it white. We're going to paint the horns gold, and then we're going to take this bull, and we're going to just go stick it in a barn somewhere, and then when Poseidon comes up, you're going to kill the fake bull and offer that up to him instead. Minos goes, I think he's going to realize it's not the same bull, because that bull's gigantic, and any of my bulls are going to be tiny. The guy goes, oh, that's a good point. How about this? You go on your knees, and you put a big cloak on, and you walk up on your knees, and you go, it's a gigantic bull! And you stab it that way, and you keep him far away, and from a distance, it'll look big. He goes, oh, all right, we'll give that a try. So that's what they do. They take this other bull, and they paint it all white, and they paint the horns all gold on the top of it, and they wait till Poseidon shows up. Poseidon shows up one night, he's like, I'm here for my sacrifice. What do you bring to me? And Minos goes, hey, stay over there on the beach. I got the bull over here. We're gonna kill it for you. And he pulls out the knife. He's like, see, stabbing this gigantic bull because it's definitely really bigger than me. And he comes out there on his knees. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Poseidon goes, hey, what you doing? He's like, I'm gonna kill this great big bull. Poseidon goes, that's not my bull. He goes, yeah, no, definitely your bull. Look, it's got gold horns and everything up there. Poseidon goes, yeah, that's, I don't know what that is, but that's not mine. My bull's over there. He turns around, and the big bull's like, brr, sticks his head out of the barn, like, brr, brr. He's like, that's my bull. He goes, are you trying to lie to me? Minos goes, what? Maybe. He's like, oh, that's a poor choice. Poseidon goes, all right, buddy, listen. I thought we had a deal. I gave you the bull, you killed the bull, brought it back to me. Now you lied to me. I'm a god. Why would you do that? You never lie to someone in power. So here's what we're going to do. Now I'm going to curse you. Midas goes, I'm the son of Zeus. How are you going to curse me? He goes, oh, like this. Do you see your wife? Midas goes, yeah. He goes, do you see how she's pregnant? He goes, yeah. He goes, see the baby inside of there? He goes, So he goes, and curses the baby that's inside of Pasiphae. She was pregnant at the time. He goes, the curse I place upon your baby, because you are so in love with my bull and refuse to sacrifice it to me, I will make your baby half bull, and turns their baby into a half bull, half man creature called a minotaur. And unlike the centaur, who had the bottom half horse and top half man, the minotaur was the bottom half human and had the head of a bull. But to be a proper curse, not only was this minotaur half man, half bull, but it will only eat one thing. What's the only thing it'll eat? People. Now you know how proper curses work. And he goes, not only that, but your baby will only eat human flesh. And there we stop. That's our last story we'll get to. Tomorrow we have a review game. Make sure you've read the story.